Have you ever felt like things just had you stuck and that you were moving backwards in life? You know, I have some good news and some not so good news about that. The good news is that's not possible. God only created one direction, and that's forward. The bad news is that's not possible. God only created one direction, and that's forward. The reason that's not so good news is when we are stuck, when we feel like we're going backwards, it means we're simply holding on to something in our past, holding on to something that's not working for us, and we're dragging it forward. We can't go backwards. Even a step backwards is just a step in a new direction. We're constantly moving forward. The proof in that is that God is everywhere. God is constantly creating. God is unlimited. It's always moving forward. He did not create uncreation. He just has creation. She just has creation. So we're constantly moving forward. We're always expanding, and we're either expanding into new, amazing opportunities and experiences, or we're trying to cling to the same old stuff, and we're warping our path forward. There's only one direction, and that's moving forward. The other example is if you took a journey of 1,000,000 miles and you got to the end, you felt like that's all there was. All you have to do is take one more step, and you've proven that there's no limits. You've proven that it's all forward. If you decided to go back to where you started from, you've started a new journey. It's not that you go back into the past. Going into the past creates pain. It creates the illusion sometimes of happiness, the illusion sometimes of security, but it's really just an illusion. You can't go into the past. You can go there and learn lessons, but nowhere in the world does it say you have to go back and feel it. You have to go back and experience the negative. Sometimes you have to do that just enough to learn the lesson. Positive psychology helps us in many ways. You know, you hear all kinds of quotes and affirmative thoughts, and I thought I'd share just a few of them with you today, if I can get my fingers to work properly. Never be afraid to try something new. Remember, amateurs built the Ark. Professionals built the Titanic. All of the planning in the world does not get you as close to your goals as taking the first step. So go for it. Another one that you might hear if you are keeping up with positive psychology. The greatest races ever run all began with one step. Start your race today. We think that we have to keep hanging on to what we've had, and we don't. And these little tabs are great until you can't get them to work for you. The pain and suffering that you have experienced in your life can bring many valuable lessons. All too often, people forget that they do not have to hang on to the pain and suffering, just the learning. Let go of limiting beliefs, free yourself of self-sabotaging action, and do it now. The stories and situations of your life to this point have prepared you for the next part of your journey. You really are ready. Take another step today. It is a beautiful journey. And then the last one that I marked. In order to bridge the gap between your current reality and where you most want to be, you must let go of everything that's holding you back. Let go of control and trust that you can take the next step. Have confidence in your ability. Let go and soar. Letting go of the past letting go of limiting beliefs, letting go of pain, and even letting go of fear are all part of moving forward. They're all part of taking the next step in this dynamic life that you're living. And it truly is a dynamic life. We get to make it what we want, because when we are truly connected, when we erase all illusions of disconnection with God, there are no limits. Just like there are no limits with what God is creating every moment of every day, there's no limits what we can live. Now, with all of the great news that we hear in the positive psychology, we still tend to hang on. Many reasons for that, and we talked about some of them last week. But the fear, to make any changes whatsoever, there's fear. Picture your comfort zone. Outside of the comfort zone is the area where we learn. But very quickly after we step into the learning zone, there is that panic zone. So you have to increase that somehow. You increase that with your positive affirmations. You increase that with fun. You increase that with your spirituality, your spiritual practices. That all expands that learning area, that growth area, and moves fear and panic away. It's when we hold on to the past, the way we've always done things, that we are constricted into our comfort zone, and the panic zone is very, very close to outside of that. So we keep moving forward. Another thing that happens that keeps us there is I've always done it that way, or it's always been this way. Well, a wonderful example of how that does not work is the company Woolworth. Where is it now? They tried to hang on to the way they've always done it. Kmart tried to hang on to the way they've always done it, and they are struggling to even stay alive. Okay, we do that too. We try to hang on to the way we've always done it. Well, check in. Has it worked? If it doesn't, let go. If it does, keep riding it, but check in. Okay? The other way that keeps us stuck is to push away from something. Like we talked about last week, pushing away from something puts our energy on that one thing. It puts our energy on that thing we're trying to get away from. Had I continued pushing away, I never would have allowed myself to be sitting here. Because I promise you, I was pushing away from religious doctrine like you would not believe. I mean, it was that, no way am I going back there. I kept pushing and I kept pushing and I kept pushing, and all I could see were the negatives of the religious doctrine, were the pain that I experienced in my upbringing because of that, were the teachings that just didn't work for me. When I let go of that, it opened me to see things differently. It opened me to start a new path. And even though I'd been on this path for many, many years, and I was kicking and screaming against ministry for many, many years, I finally let go of the kicking and screaming. And it's been pretty wonderful. It's been pretty wonderful. Not the last thing, but one of the last really big things that keeps us holding on to the past is guilt. Something happened, and man, I feel guilty for that, so I've got to stay here. The longer I stay here, the more atoned I feel, and I'm going to get over it someday, but I got to stay here for now because this guilt is holding me there. Guilt is nothing more than a call to action. When you feel guilty about something, whether it's something you did, something you didn't do, whatever the case may be, it's nothing more than a call to action. Take a step away from that thing. If you feel guilty about something you did, move forward, because you cannot go back and change it. You may feel that you need to go ask for forgiveness. You may need to forgive yourself. There are some steps that you can take along the way, but staying there does not help your forward movement. Okay? Looking back does have some benefits. I'm not going to say don't ever look back. Looking back can teach lessons. Looking back can allow you to release You just don't have to go get stuck. You do not have to get stuck there. Getting stuck serves no purpose whatsoever. This goes for losing loved ones as well. Oftentimes when we lose a loved one, we do get stuck there. We do feel guilty that it was them and not us. We do feel guilty that we didn't say the right things. We can get stuck there, and we can stop our forward momentum, or what we think is stopping our forward momentum. We do get stuck. We do feel like we're going backwards. When it comes to losing a loved one, the most beautiful gift in the world is when you realize we are all connected in spirit. You can have the most beautiful relationship with someone who has passed on. It's amazing. Everything's perfect. So if you have the feeling of losing someone, let that go. Start a new relationship. Look back only to see the wonderful things about the relationship that made you love them so much that you're stuck with them. They've moved on. Come with them. Doesn't mean you have to die today. It just means to go ahead and live your life. Bring them with you. The experience that you can have with anybody, whether they are here on this plane or moved on, can be absolutely beautiful when you see it through the eyes of God, when you see it through the eyes of love. Holding on to the stuff doesn't help you do that. Jesus talked about, in the Gospels, Jesus talked in his healings, in the miracles that he performed. He talked about this. Sometimes he would say, leave it behind, stand up, go on, you're healed. Sometimes he would say, gather up everything, take it with you. He's telling us, sometimes you leave it behind. If it's not serving you, leave it. Go forward. Be healed. He only saw the wholeness of people. If what was holding you back, what was making you ill, did not serve you, move on. Sometimes he did tell you to pick up your bed, pick up your belongings, take them with you. Well, apparently they're still serving you for some reason. So it talks about this all the way through. So let go and soar. Let go and soar. I'm reminded of the eagle and just love watching them. And somebody had a little handy cam thing sitting up on a nest one time, so you could watch. Each day you could go in and watch the progression as these babies were growing up, and finally get to the point where some of them would dive off the side of this nest that was 70 feet up in the air. You know, they'd never spread their wings out and tried to fly before, but here they go. They dive and open up, and they were able to soar. Some of them held on to that nest, and it took mom and dad to come in and kick them out. But as long as they were holding on, they could not experience soaring. Same here. As long as you're holding on to that which does not serve you, holding on to anything that limits you, you can't soar. It takes courage. And courage is nothing more than seeing a fear and stepping through it. It doesn't take a guy in full armor with 15 guns and 20 hand grenades to be full of courage. It takes me and you to step through something that we allowed to stop us before. So just let go. Let go. One of the ways to let go is to just shift your perspective. When we do get caught up in moving, going back in our past and remembering things, instead of letting it suck you in, instead of letting it stop you or limit you, change your perspective. See it through the eyes of God. What good came out of that? What movement did you experience through that? And if you can't see what happened that was good or allowed you to move, then see what possibly could happen. Okay? I've often said that one of the greatest gifts I ever had was the death of my son. It still hurts. And if I allow myself to get stuck in that, I'm not moving forward very easily. But if I see it for what it did for me, it caused me to look at life differently. It caused me to look for the good in things. I still get stuck looking at the negative, but now I'm way more apt to look for the good, look for the positive. And that's because of his death. So change your perspective of things and come back to the future. Bring back the lessons. Bring back the learning that you got from the experiences. Don't get stuck in the drama, in the feelings, and everything that's going on. Come forward. Come forward. Move forward. It's the only direction God created. Let go each day. Every single day, something's going to pop up. Something's going to say, I'm going to stand in your way for a little while. We're going to hold you up right here. Let go. Move aside. Step around it. Do whatever you have to do to come back to your forward movement.
My son went through the divorce. It was very painful for him. He really wanted it. He seemed like the one that doesn't want his son to get rid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were talking at his house. We were playing a lot of music. We got talking about, at that time, he loved all the everything. He said, you know, Mom, I didn't give all that away. He said, because I got so addicted to that feeling of getting to myself. I kind of played on with it, you know, and all my little honky-tonk things. He said, one day I'm like, you know, this music is pulling me down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
He said, because he didn't have any. I said, he was giving himself. I got away from that music.
Yeah.
It's good music, don't lose.
Oh, yeah.
But he said, you know what one does get addicted to those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have those feelings over and over.
Yeah. We get caught in those feelings, and all of the pain and all of the negativity become a comfort zone. You know, they become what's familiar. And until we can break out of it and see what's true, it can really be a safe feeling place for us. You know, you can be in tremendous pain, but if that's what you're used to, if that's what you've allowed to become your norm, it can be a comfort zone for you. And to step outside of it takes courage that you may not feel strong enough to have at that moment. Yeah, thank you, Luana. The entire universe, like we talked about before, is moving forward. It's constantly expanding. You are part of that. You are part of the creation. We are all moving forward. Every step we take is a step in a forward direction. We can either move that way, kicking and screaming, holding on to what we think we're supposed to have, or we can open it up. We can step out of that nest, open our arms, and just soar. My challenge to you is to step out of the nest. Open your arms, even if you think you have seen it all. Even if you think you are completely open and accepting of new things. Take one more step. Embrace the opportunities, embrace the experiences that come to you. And see how your life changes. See how your life expands and elevates and grows. And find out if you can get just a little bit more beauty in there, a little more love. It's fun. We talked this morning about blessing the children, and I think that if we all revert back to childlike curiosity, childlike awareness, childlike openness, I think we'd start leaving more stuff behind and start stepping forward more freely. So check that out. Try that and see how it works. The flow that you will experience when you do that truly is divine. It's the divine connection. We're there. We all have it. We're all full of God. We're all part of that. We all are connected in that way. When we remove the barriers, when we remove the limits that we have self-imposed upon us, we can live that way. We can feel it. So before we take or join in our circle today, I'd just like to ask you, please think of one thing in your life that you are allowing to limit you, stop you, pull you back. Think of that one thing right now. When you have that, I'm going to ask you to think of a way that this week you're going to commit to yourself to let go of that. Step through it, step over it, blow it apart, whatever it takes. One thing. And then I want you to imagine what your life journey is going to be like without that thing holding you back or slowing you down. Okay. Come on back to the room. Thank you very much. Let go and soar. It's your life. You deserve it. Okay, thank you. If you will, join